12 in the fractal shape of time. Where did I put that? I should have done this earlier. Had it all loaded already. My bad. Charts that I have that show the increasing rate of change in the world today. And basically, this one gives the history of mass use of inventions. I'm not quite sure exactly how they have figured. Oh, I know what it is. This is the fraction of human beings, I think in the United States, that are using a particular invention at its inception. When electricity was first introduced and telephone were first introduced, there was basically very few people using them in the beginning. Now, of course, everybody's using them. But when they were first introduced, oh, I know what he's saying here. He's saying this is the diameter of the technology in use at that particular time. So the telephone and electricity involve the use of really big components. Then radio, television, the PC, the mobile phone, and finally the internet, they use progressively smaller and smaller and smaller components. Now to get on the internet, it just takes one tiny little chip, modem chip, and you're online. But when these technologies were first introduced, they were pretty clunky. They were very gross. They used big pieces of stuff. And not only that, the number of people who adopted them in the beginning was very small. I remember when we got our first TV in 1954 or something like that. And like we were the only house on the block that had a TV for a long time. Then gradually other people got one. When the PC, remember when the first PC came out, only geeks had a PC. Now everybody has a PC or a laptop or something. And then mobile phones, oh my God, it's like, you don't exist if you don't have a mobile phone now, right? Or a page on MySpace. So, as these new inventions have come out, people adopted them faster and faster. It took a long time for everybody to get telephone or for everybody to get electricity. But once the internet came out, within a decade, everybody had internet. Or at least they had the possibility of getting on the internet. Now, hopefully I'm not going to mess this up when I do this. Oops. Dang, messed it up. Let's try it. There. It's like it'll only... now we got both. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Well, let's go to the next slide.
You're right.
Hmm? There we go. Nope. There. This is about data transmission, network speed. Now you notice this scale is not linear. The scale is 10 to the 0, which is 10, 10 to the 2, which is 100, 10,000, a million, and so on. It goes by powers of 10. So from the distance between one line to the next is 10 times the distance to the previous value. Okay? So when we talk about like Morse code back in 1840, they were getting like 10 characters a second. That was the fastest network they had then. But a digital T1 line, which came out in 1950s, That gives 1 million characters per second, or did then. Now it's even faster. Fiber optic, which came out about 1990, gives 10 to the 8th, 10 million characters a second, right? And now we're dealing with other technologies. This is in the 2000. You know, this line is just keeping going up, faster and faster. And each advance gives more information throughput than the one before it. So what happens is, time is going along here linear on the bottom scale. And on the speed scale, every time it advances, it's advancing faster and faster. But still, this line curves up. It's not a straight line. It keeps curving up. It's an exponential curve. Even on an exponential scale, you're getting an exponential curve. This is called a double exponential curve. A double exponential curve has a feature that it goes along very slow for a long time. Before Morse code, there was letters. People wrote letters, and then they gave them to the postman, and the postman walked the letter to the place where it was delivered. And then they had Pony Express. This was considered a big improvement, right? And then trains, and finally planes, and so on. So this curve went along at a very low speed for a long time. And then suddenly it reached this point where technology got involved, and the rate of change began to take off until we have now a double exponential curve. And that's the thing about a double exponential curve, which is also called a hyperbola. It's an open-ended curve. For example, comets, certain comets have this particular kind of curve as an orbit. The ones that come from outside the solar system. When they come through the sun, they pass by the sun only once. They never return. That's called a hyperbolic curve, or a double exponential curve. So basically what's happening here is that not only is the rate of change increasing, but the rate of change of the rate of change is increasing. And not only that, the rate of change of the rate of change of the rate of change is increasing. That's a double exponential curve. So the rate of change of the rate of change of the rate of change increasing means things are changing really fast. And they're going to change just faster and faster at a very accelerated rate. This is what we call a tipping point. Okay? Because we're living through it, it appears to have a curve. But when people look back on this in the future, it'll appear to just hit a certain point and then go straight up. Because we're living through this revolution of technology, there's a slight curve to the line. Otherwise, it would simply be a discontinuity. It's like one century ago, there was practically no data transmission, and now all of a sudden we have like unlimited bandwidth. In historical terms, 100 years is not a long time. So to go from letter writing and then to Morse code to, you know, whatever, I mean, terabyte networks we're going to have next year, it's just like an instantaneous transition. It's like a digital quantum leap, okay, in historical terms. So the amount of change that we're experiencing now is basically more than all the amount of change since history began. Let me give that to you and explain it another way. The rate of data transmission from the beginning of human civilization until the middle of the 1800s was basically constant. And then in the last 150 years, it's increased 100 million times. That 10 to the 14th, make that 100 billion times. 100 billion times increase in just 150 years. And that's basically like going from 0 to infinity. It's digital. It's not analog. It just jumps. So this kind of change, or this rate of change, a factor of 100 billion in a very, very short time, is more change than has happened in the previous, 10,000 or 100,000 years. That rate of change is very dislocating to our whole society. And I've got more graphs. Actually, I've got a whole folder full of them that show these kind of changes. Let me give you another example. Oh, there's a pretty looking one. Decrease in size of mechanical devices. In 1985, we're talking about diameter in millimeters. We have approximately 1 millimeter diameter is the smallest machine part in 1985. But already by